The Manage Tenancy Transactions screen is used to view all of the tenancy transactions from all tenancies in the system. The screen can be used to generate reports, exports, send receipts and invoices for transactions, and to investigate transaction history, for example, the total amount of rent paid last month. In this video, we will be having a look at a few ways we can use the Manage Tenancy Transactions screen. From the home screen, if we go to Finance and into Tenancy Transaction Functions menu, the first screen here is Manage Tenancy Transactions. And when we click on this, we see a search screen just like the other search screens in Chintaro, but this screen shows all transactions from all our tenancies. We can use this screen to generate reports and to investigate different things. For example, we can see all the rent that was paid last month. To do this, we click on the black arrow in Transaction Type and select Rent Payment, which filters the screen to only rent payments. We can then use the date filters on the Transaction Date column to show all rent payments in the last month by left-clicking on the black arrow in the Date column, going down to Date Filters and clicking on Last Month. This is all the rent that we collected in a month, and the total amount we received in rent for the last month will display at the top of the screen. We can now filter this screen further by a tenancy or program, for example. Let's say we want to look at all of the rent payments from our group housing program. We can right-click on any entry with group housing and select Equals Group Housing. And again, the screen is filtered to show us all rent payments we received in the last month from our group housing program. We can now click Export and view this data outside of Chintaro in an Excel spreadsheet. Using this screen is one way to get an Excel spreadsheet of tenancy transaction information. There are many exports available in the Exports function of Chintaro, but using this screen is another way we're able to manipulate or investigate data without having to create an export from the Export function. We'll clear the current filters on the Program field and the Date field, but we'll keep the Transaction Type column filtered to rent payments. This time, we'll use a different date filter. We'll right-click on any date in the Date column, go down to Date Filters and select Between. Now we enter the dates that we want to see the rent payments for, and we will select the oldest date as the 25th of November 2018 and the newest as the 25th of December 2018, which will show all rent payments we have received during that time period. We can now add all non-rent payments by clicking the black funnel icon in the Transaction Type column and selecting Furniture Payment, Garden Payment, and Utilities Payment from this list. Again, we can print or export this data as necessary. Now let's say that we want to view all of the rent charges and payments for one of our programs in a year, and we want to view these transactions for the Crisis Housing Program. We first select the transaction types that we want to view, so we click on the black arrow in Transaction Type, deselect all, and select both rent charges and payments. Then in the Date column, we'll click the black arrow in the column heading, go down to Date Filters and select This Year. Now we go to the Program column and we can right-click on any entry with Crisis Housing in the Program field and select Equals Crisis Housing. Again, we see the total at the top of the screen and we can export this data to Excel. We could also filter this list to see the rent transactions from a particular property. This time we'll click Show All to take us back to the default view. As you can see, we can use this screen to filter and sort on all of these columns for all transactions for all tenancy ledgers, not just individual tenancy ledgers. This allows us to get totals and exports directly from this screen. Another thing we can do on this screen is we can print receipts and invoices for our tenants in bulk. If we want to send receipts to the tenants at 16 Postcard Place, we'll filter the Transaction Type column to only show rent payments by clicking on any entry with rent payment and selecting Equals Rent Payment. We'll filter the property column and the date column to show transactions this month, then click Select All at the top here and Word Merge Receipt. A Microsoft Word document opens up with the receipts we can print. If we want to send an invoice to tenants for charges, we filter the transaction type column for rent charges, select all tenants, and click on Word Merge Invoice. Again, Microsoft Word will open up to show the invoices for these tenants for this month that we can now print. For more information on the columns on this screen or different ways to search for information, please have a look at our knowledge base or contact us by emailing support@chintaro.com.au. To exit this screen and return home, click the Home button.